Hello and welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate podcast. Rod Kuntz here with me, Jim Riley. Good to see everybody. Rod, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jim, as always.
I say see, but I can't see anybody but you. But I know eventually this is going to be on YouTube. So people will see our friendly faces on YouTube. There is some stuff on YouTube now, but not as much as I'd like. We'll get there. It's transition.
Yeah, people like what they see as well as what they hear.
True. First and foremost, Rod, I as my partner in business and on this podcast, I want to thank you for your flexibility. I've asked you on a number of occasions to switch the time or move it. And it has nothing to do with the importance of this call. It's just, sometimes my life gets overwhelmingly busy with kids and obligations. And I just want to thank you for your flexibility. So I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Flexibility is one of the things that I always say entrepreneurs need. And so why wouldn't I practice it myself? And if we had to reschedule, I would have, but I knew what my time frame was. And it's like, okay, this is okay. And I'm at that point in my life where I can be more flexible.
Yeah.
So I will extend that grace. I remember being in your shoes where it was constant deadline and, you're wedging stuff in. So I'll extend that grace to you and anyone else, but especially you.
I just want you to know I'm appreciative of it and it is recognized. And I think if you are partnered with anybody out there that understand their circumstances and sometimes flexibility is important to have a successful partnership so that you're bringing value for value. So anyways, so this is the reason why I needed to delay a little bit is I had the farrier come this morning, which he was supposed to be here 2 days ago. And if you know anything about farriers, you don't want to miss that appointment because there's such a demand for them in our county, probably nationwide. All the trade schools, all the trades are fading away. And I understand that schools are starting to put a push and emphasis back on trades, but it's amazing to me. And by the way, he makes a good living. It's not like farriers don't make very good money. He was here for 35 minutes and it's a specialty, but his services were over $50. I'm not giving you the exact price because he gives me a discount, but it was over 50 for 35 minutes worth of work. It's just like, if you're interested in a trade or if you are frustrated with the options that you have currently, like go to college, there's so much more out there. So anyways, I just wanted to throw that in there as well, Rod.
We need to have a conversation on this podcast at some point, Jim, about trades and college and how it sizes up and how you can do both. To have a backup plan.
Yeah.
Is phenomenal.
Let's commit to doing that next show. And
okay.
I'll try to remember. We'll title it, Have a Backup Plan to College. So that kind of goes along with the people that I met after the ferry this morning. I met with the owner, Luke, of Range. And if you're looking on Instagram, it's Range, RANGE_MT. And their business is ranching. Their product is Wagyu beef, and their style of living is 100% Montana. This is not a commercial for them, but they're range, born, bred, and fed. I'm just so fascinated with the beef industry, the ranching industry, and I've been trying to get together with Luke for a couple months now, and schedules weren't aligned. And so I got together with him today and to learn all about their product, what they do, how they do sustainable ranching and expansion efforts, how they grow their business, genetics of cattle, especially when you look at a Wagyu beef cattle, it's complicated. And these guys this is their first year of business. They're having a good year, but they're trying to navigate the future. And I'm excited for them. I'm excited for what they're doing. They showed me their website, we'd like to move this or tweak this. And they're going through all those early growing pains of businesses that have seen early success. The old, if we promote it too much, we'll be sold out scenarios, which, there's good and bad in that. And I'm just having this robust conversation with Luke and his partner. And there's some other people involved that are up here in Montana. And I'm just sitting back on how exciting. These guys have no idea, the road ahead, the challenges, the success, and what twists and turns are we going to be in? And that's what I want to talk about, Rod, is the early days of starting your business and what that looks like and what's required to find success beyond that. And the first thing that comes to mind, and start thinking about that, because I want to talk about this in as much depth as we can in our 20-minute segment. But the first thing that comes to mind was patience. If you've had a good first year, and you're not sitting heavy in the red, you could be in the red, even if you probably should be in the red your first year, unless you're an anomaly. But having the patience to watch that success unfold and follow your plan,
Right.
remembering the days that you sat around that coffee table or whatever that looked like for you, developing the business and going, hey, I have a dream. This is what I want to do. Or maybe it was a small mom and pop operation that wasn't really considered a business in your eyes. And it's like, let's turn this into something more. Let's make this the income for the family, right? And if you can remember back to those days, that was when you were the most clear about your vision and what you wanted to do, especially from a marketing, branding, value proposition side. Because as we grow in our business, all of a sudden the demands of running that business get in the way, and you can easily get away from those early days, those early values, the early whys, and the vision that you had for the brand. And I think it's important that you take the time in the beginning to write those things down so that they become your roadmap. We often talk about it being, writing your business plan, writing your values, and all these things that you see so that you can follow that roadmap down the way, because it's easy to get lost. At the same time, and I'll let you comment here in a sec, at the same time, don't forget to enjoy the process that you're in, because you got into this business for a reason. Enjoy the process, the people you're meeting, the challenges and the struggles. Yeah, they're hard at the time, but when you look back, those are the things you laugh about. It's like, oh man, remember when we had to deal with that and how we got out of that trouble, or found that money, or that new customer showed up at the nick of time and saved our butts. Enjoy the process, whether it's easy, hard, fun, or bad and indifferent. It's all part of your history. And like I said, I was just sitting back listening to these guys, just in the back of my mind, loving it for them and the journey they're about to go on.
And I think all of us as new business owners, and even if we're in an established business or out of a business that we were in, to look back and appreciate the process, number one, and appreciate our own growth and accomplishment in that. And I was just, while you were talking about this, I was thinking about one of the hardest parts of being your own boss, being in your own business, is you have to become your own inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be the one doing it. No one's going to do it for you. You and I right now, you're cheerleading these people, and most people don't get that, and they don't appreciate it as much as, everyone else. When we're looking at a business from the outside in, and especially with our business mindset, right? It's one thing to look at a business from a customer standpoint, but to stand back and look at it from, the whole thing, like you just did with range. And there are all these P words kept coming up. Passion. When you first start, you're passionate. And it's the IOF syndrome, ignorance on fire. You don't even need to know what's going to work and what's not going to work, because you're so excited it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that leads to the next thing, the P, the problems that start running into, that you run into and that run into you. And they're going to come. If you haven't hit them already, they will come.
Yeah.
And you have to appreciate the problems as well, because you're going to get slammed with those. And your passion, your initial passion, can get you through the problem areas. And understand it's just part of the process. Embrace the process and do what you can. That's that patience that you were talking about, but appreciate the process. And then the last part of it is P. The last P is profit.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to enjoy the profit from it, but it's not just the financial profit. It's the personal growth profit. It's the enjoying the experience and looking back at the memories and the relationships you create. And that's all part of startup as well. the people that got you started, that believed in you when you were the very first one on the market, the first customer is like the best, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's family and friends, and sometimes they're the last ones to come on and support you. So, just appreciate all those things: the passion, the pain and the problems, the patience, the process, and the profit. It's one great, big, wonderful package, and it hurts sometimes.
Well, and we'll just stick with these guys as an example because it is fresh in my mind, literally just coming off that meeting. A lot of times when you start up a new business and you get wrapped up in all these things, you forget how far you've come in a short period of time. And when you look at society and the success of maybe people that you're surrounded with, you feel like, oh, I'm less than. I've got to go faster to catch up. No, you don't have to go faster to catch up. You just have to follow your plan at the pace that you set for yourself in your business plan, based on your finances and your resources and your team and your marketability and your growth and all those other things. Because again, I'm sitting there now. Luke was super proud. He goes, "Hey, let me show you the freezer," and his partner Sam was there. And what they didn't realize until I said it. So I know the owner of the building. He's my attorney, for personal stuff. And he bought this building. It used to be an old warehouse or distribution center for this company called Schwann's. And they had 2 freezer units. I think they were actually just cold storage, and he turned them into freezer units. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to be able to lease these out to companies to store mass amounts of beef or something that needs to be frozen." Right. So I remember John building out the facility, and he was so proud, and he walked me through these empty freezers, during the construction, then afterwards. And then he actually owns a cattle ranch out in middle Montana. So some of his product was in there. It's like, "Jim, one day, I'll fill this freezer up with a client, or maybe it's 10 clients, what have you." Right. So here I am today getting a tour from Luke and Sam of one of the freezers. Like, "Oh, let me show you the freezer." I'm like, "I've been in here a dozen times." Right. But when I walked in, the freezer, which is massive, was filled floor to ceiling, wall to wall of their branded products. I'm like,
Wow.
holy shit, man, you guys got a lot of
They
stuff
already
in you.
filled it.
Right. They already filled it. And in their minds, they're going, "Oh, we got to sell. We got to grow." They're looking at the future. I'm going, "Wow, look what you guys have accomplished."
Right.
And that says something for about what's been created and the foundational elements that are there. Because as you know, Rob, we talk about it all the time. Once the foundation's there, now we can do some real building.
Right. And that's where the real building happens too,
That's
after
right.
the foundation's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't wait to go back there in a year from now, and they have both the John's freezers full, because they're the same size. All of a sudden, like,
Oh, that's cool.
And then they're building another freezer. Who knows? But, I think the point here is understand the process, be patient during the process. Your bullet points were fantastic because they are part of it, right? And then look to the future and use your foundation to build off of.
And there's so much that goes into the preparation. And people, gosh, it's so easy to overlook that. When you walk into a business, you see what's in front of you, but you don't see what is behind the business necessarily. And you've just revealed some of that. But there's so much. And I even think when I was serving on city council, I understood construction from when I was working construction. My father, I was raised around construction. So I understood the process, from digging stuff out, surveying, setting, the footings, digging it out, shooting grades. I understand the surveying, all that before you just build a house.
Mm-hmm.
But from the building of a development, when you're developing a whole neighborhood or a subdivision, when I didn't understand that completely until I was on city council. And then you start understanding the process that goes into laying the infrastructure. You have to have a plan, or you don't get off the ground. You don't even get in the door without the engineering plans and knowing all that. And then you start jumping through all those hurdles. And it is a process. By the time someone drives by, and I thought about this just yesterday. We've got a lot of development going on here in our area, obviously. Yeah. But there's one piece of property I always thought was the best piece of property in all of Kalispell. And I had a vision in my own head. If I could buy that, this is what I would do with it. And a developer is doing what I actually thought about. And it's been in the process now for well over a year. But last week they went vertical. And that's a term, the developers use. It's like, okay, you've got all the sewage, all the water, all the power, all that infrastructure that's underground is done. Foundations are set, and then you go vertical. People don't appreciate how much work goes into the process before you fill the freezer, before you go vertical. And that part of the process, it requires so much more work and effort to get it going. That's just, one of the laws of thermodynamics, right? It takes effort to, get mass moving. Yeah. You have to put a lot more effort into it, and then sustaining it gets easier as long as you don't get distracted.
Yeah, which happens. I want to briefly talk about step 2 of this, by the way, because it's another thing that we get wrapped up in as new entrepreneurs, business owners, and that's the inner workings of your business itself, right? Trying to dial something in to perfection behind the scenes. And, those things aren't necessarily forward facing to the consumer. I think it's most important that once you launch, okay, you've built the foundation, you've done all these things, your freezer's full, and you launch. It's important to shift gears so that the consumer experience is 100% perfect, and their expectation is met every single time. Now, understanding that you're probably still new in business and the back end could be a disaster. You could open that freezer door and trip over 10 boxes of ground beef just to get to the tomahawk steaks. The consumer doesn't need to know that your freezer is a disaster as far as organization, right? They just need to know that they can go online, buy the product, and it ships to them, and they're going to be happy when it arrives. And so we need to make a shift in our focus once we open those doors for business, once we've gained some momentum in our consumer or customer base, that we've always got to deliver for the customer now, and don't let our inner workings take a priority over the customer experience, because then you'll lose them. Everything that you've worked hard for, the reason why the freezer's full is to sell product to customers and not getting lost in the back end. Yeah, this was a little part of a conversation I had with them. They were critiquing their website, and I said, look, guys, what you have on your website is good. And could it be better? Sure, it can. But the most important thing on that website is your shopping cart, is the customer experience going in to buy your product, and can they transact in a simple way? And, so they've got some virtual business, they got some wholesale business to restaurants and stuff like that. And so this applies to anybody that's getting started in their own business, whether you're in real estate or retail, whatever, construction, anything. Make sure that the front end, forward-facing customer side of it is perfect from day one and always. You can tweak the back end at night, in the morning before the day starts, on the weekends, on the holidays, anytime outside of making sure the customer is 100% satisfied.
Boy, what an important point, Jim. That's how many times, I can't tell you how many times I've gone on someone's website and I'm ready to purchase, I'm ready to, or sign up or do something. And then you get to that final step. And usually it's in service industries. Yeah. Government websites are great for this, but you get to that final step and there's something in their logic code that doesn't work, and it sends you back to start, or it doesn't take. And then you have to do it all over again. You can't go back to the last step. You have to start all over. And there's only so much start over you can expect a consumer to do before they give up and go to someone else who's got that part of the equation already handled. So you're absolutely right. Having that end process dialed in is probably the most important. They need to start with that on the website. You know?
Rod, it's the equivalent, and you've probably experienced this. You go to a retail store, any type of retail store, and the cashier's like halfway through ringing you up, and another employee walks up and interrupts the cashier. Like, hey, I've got a problem, right?
Right.
And so now their problem becomes your problem as a customer because you're sitting there waiting to be rung up. So you're listening to the whole thing go down. It's like, well, what about me? I was the customer in the middle of a transaction. I want to leave. I want to pay. I've made a commitment. Now I want to walk out the door with my goods and services and be satisfied. I don't want to sit here and listen to your problem and have you solve the problem in front of me while I'm stuck mid-transaction, right? You lose that customer, and that happens online a lot. But when it happens online, you abandon the cart. That's why there's a whole business around chasing abandoned carts, by the way. There is.
Wow.
So the equivalent of you taking your eye off the customer, the consumer in the transaction, whatever that looks like, you're costing yourself business. So the point of all this is keep your forward-facing business as your focus once you launch, and deal with the back-end stuff when appropriate, and don't over deliberate as long as that customer and consumer experience is good. And you'll find success, because if you're in it for the long haul, you're going to be tweaking forever.
Yes.
It's speaking of yes, right? How often does our partner come to us, Rachel, and she says, hey, I did something new to the website. We're a year and a couple months into this thing, and she's constantly making updates, and they're all better. But what if we failed to launch in the beginning because we had to find all these great things? Or if our customers suffered in the process because we're too busy tweaking, right?
Right.
No,
exactly.
She makes something better, aligns it along the way. And next thing you know, we've just given an improved resource to our customers, kind of cool how it shuffles out that way.
Yeah. And always be looking for improvement. Don't be satisfied. And I think most people aren't, although here's the danger: getting in that groove. Once you've reached your level of success and you've reached your target goal for year 1, year 2, year 3, and now you're in that groove and everything is hunky-dory, that's probably the most dangerous time in business. That's when you can take your eyes off the details, off the little things. It's when you've grown enough that you've got other people that are in charge of different departments you used to pay attention to. And if you haven't trained them properly, you can drop the ball. So be cautious about the groove too.
Yeah. Well, a good time for a customer survey, right?
Absolutely.
You feel like you're in a groove, send out a customer survey. What do you think? How's your experience? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? The list goes on. But all this to make you better at what you're doing, right? Stay in focus, get on track, and run a great, successful business.
Absolutely. And just thinking about this, sending out a survey, I got a second survey from the hospital.
Okay. Where's your first one at?
Haven't sent it in. and I kept it because I'm staring at it wondering, what am I going to do? I'm not going to send it. I decided, literally, I just made up my mind during this podcast. And so if you're listening to this, it's okay to have a revelation, an epiphany while you're listening to something in midstream. I just had an epiphany. What I'm going to do with that survey is I'm going to fill it out, but I am not going to send it back to the company that sent it. They hired a different party to do their survey. Yeah. And it's so that they can meet national health care standards and all that crap. I don't care about that. I care about the service at the local level.
Sure.
So I'm going to fill that survey out and I'm going to send it to the CEO of the local organization. That's what I'm going to do, with a letter saying, you know what, if you really want and value my opinion, someone from your office here locally will contact me. That's what I want. And I'm not going to send it back to the other company. I'll hand it to them and they can pass it off.
My 2 cents on surveys is too many people are sending them out. Drives me nuts. I don't fill out any surveys anymore. I used to, because I thought, well, the company really wants to know. I should help them as a customer. I get so many surveys now. I'm disgusted with them. What blows me away, I work with the local company here. They provide online services. And I know their names. I've walked in the door. I know all 3 owners, right? And I'll call them. I'm like, hey, would you mind just making this little update? We're talking about a 1-minute phone call, right? 2 days later, I get an email. how was your service with such and such on such and such date? Please fill out our survey. Every single time.
Right.
I'm like, where's the personality in this? What value are you expecting to get out of me? Somebody who's walked in through your front doors and know all three owners on a regular basis. You know, like you're not customer focused. You're process driven now, and you've taken the personality 100% of the equation.
You're right. And we dealt with this 2 weeks ago, I believe, on Young Entrepreneur Syndicate call. And I was very careful about, because I'm not a fan of surveys.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I believe in data. So there's how you collect that data is the important part. So, you know, be careful with those things. Those are those little details that can run a customer off or leave a bad taste in their mouth, being over-surveyed. And here's a prime example. My mother-in-law, several years ago now, passed away and in the hospital. And she was there for something that was not life-threatening. And there was some negligence involved in that sort of thing. But I was there for the settlement conferences and that sort of thing. And one of the things that I brought up immediately, the day after she passed away, we went to her house, right? She's now deceased. On her answering machine is a voicemail asking how her experience was at this local facility whose negligence caused her death. Now you talk about rubbing it in, and that was a point of contention that was an expensive resolution. We'll put it that way. It's just, you know, you have to look at those processes and from the personal point of view and really pay attention. How bad do you want that data that you're going to, you know, I don't know.
Crazy.
It's just one of those things. Be cautious, be wise.
Well, you brought up Young Entrepreneur Syndicate, how we discussed this on our call within a couple weeks ago. Hey, if you're listening to the show and you like what we're talking about, you feel like you could use a little bit more of it, we'd love to have you as a member of the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. You can go to our website. It's .com, youngentrepreneurs.syndicate.com. Membership's $99 a month. We do 4 calls every Monday night. Rod, myself, or Rachel, our marketing guru, talk for about 20, 30 minutes on a given topic. And then we open up for a robust Q&A. You can ask any questions about business, life in general, and we'll answer those calls live and bring value to you and everybody else that's on the call. As well as we've got a great back end with resources, things like NDAs, business plan templates, marketing templates, et cetera. The latest from AI, thanks to some of Rod's research and initiatives and push on all that stuff. And just a great community of people on our own platform produced by Jadari. So we'd love to have you. And we'd like to hear any topics you want us to cover on this show. Write in, emails, I don't know, Instagram, go on Young Entrepreneurs, send an info at. We'd love to hear from you. And anything else, Rod, to add?
No, let's just, I like the involvement. Yeah. Here's the thing, Jim, you spring a topic on me for our podcast and I have no idea what's happening until it's happening. And I like that, right? I don't mind being in the hot seat. But if you really want value, the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate is something that we've spent time literally putting together a lesson plan that's succinct and relevant to business and to business owners and business startups and even people who are entrepreneurs. So we spend time thinking about and really preparing stuff so that you get great value. And not that there's not great value in this, but there's a difference between being prepared and being in the hot seat. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Hey, by the way, I want to congratulate our partner, Rachel Savota. Her book is live online today on Amazon, Grit and Grace by Rachel Savota. You can find a link to that on our website, or you can find her on Instagram or on my Instagram. I've been promoting it today. And by the time this show airs, I'm sure she'll be a bestseller, all that other good stuff. So really proud of you, Rachel. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. The book seems like it's geared towards females, but I read it and I picked up a whole bunch of good stuff on there. So I'd encourage you, male or female, to grab the book. Rod, have a great afternoon. Love seeing you on the show. Look forward to next week. And we're just going to keep grinding it out.
Loving it. Hey, everybody, have a great rest of your day.